Welcome, everyone, to my podcast. We've made it. We've done 2 episodes, or we will have done 2 episodes if you are watching this. So it's not one of those podcasts where I just do one episode, then completely goes extinct. I'd say that was a little bit of a threat, but we've made it to episode 2, and boy, is there drama in the chess world. And you know that when there's drama in the chess world, then we have to talk about it. That's part of why I wish I did this like a year ago, because there's just like a lot of drama with like Magnus, Hans, Hikaru, things like that, and that would have been cool to like cover. I don't think it would have necessarily like helped the viewership or whatnot. Like, it's not like my channel would have had like 2,000 subscribers had I covered it then. Well, who knows? Probably not though. But anyway, there is some chess drama. There's also the US Championship, which I'd be lying if I said I like tracked every single game and had some detailed analysis, but I do want to give some like storylines, insights, just kind of things I'm observing. And obviously there's this chess drama that I've been alluding to. So without further ado, what this drama is about. So there's a chess tournament going on, a high level tournament called the Qatar Masters, and it's an open tournament. So the thing with top level chess is most tournaments that they play in are closed round robin events. So what it means is that they're invitational and all the players play each other. So for example, the candidates, I believe it's like 8 players, and that one's a double round robin. Most tournaments are like single round robin, so maybe that's a bad example, but I don't know. Let's say Sinkfield Cup. I think Sinkfield Cup is like 12 players, so it's 11 rounds because all play all. Could be a little bit confusing. You don't play 12 rounds because you don't play yourself. You just play 11 rounds, and it's all play all. So like the candidates is a double round robin, so all play all twice. So Hikaru Nakamura is being paired with Ding Liren. He'll get one game with white and then later one game with black. It's not like sequential, like they're gonna face off like twice in a row. It's like the sequence goes like if Hikaru faces Ding Liren like in round 1, then they would play again in round, after the whole cycle's gone through. Anyway, maybe that's some unnecessary explaining. But so a little bit of a rare format among the higher level players, and that's actually the format that most tournaments that are like our level is like a Swiss format to where basically there's like a bunch of players. It's not necessarily all play all, and you're paired by a Swiss system. Now, I'd be lying if I did my homework as to like, is there like a rating cap? I'm pretty sure there is a rating cap. Like you have to be at least master or something like that for Qatar. So it's not like anyone could enter. But I know like Eric Rosen's playing in this one, and like there are some IMs, so clearly couldn't be all play all. So basically how these tournaments go is like, so they're the top dogs, and like this is a big deal because like maybe besides like Isle of Man, like Reykjavik Open. No, I don't think Reykjavik Open's that strong. This is probably the strongest like open Swiss, whatever you want to call, like tournament, with like Carlsen playing, Nakamura, Anish Giri is playing, even some young guys like Gukesh, Notabek Abusatorov I think is playing, Maksudlu I saw. So there are like a lot of strong GMs, like a lot of like top 100, 50 players. And so how it normally works. So how a traditional Swiss system works, and this is actually like good if you're like playing in over-the-board tournaments and you're wondering like how the pairings work, is that let's say a section has 12 players, and that's not Qatar Masters. I'm just saying like hypothetically, like your local tournament at like, I don't know, hotel, bar, tournaments don't happen at bars, but your local tournament, like say your section has 12 players. So the way it goes is the top of the top half plays the top player of the bottom half. So basically it's going to be like number 1 player would play number 7, since the sections are since the section would be divided, top 6 players, bottom 6 players for pairing purposes. So 1 plays 7, 2 plays 8, and then 3 plays 9, and it kind of goes down the line. So if you're the top seed in a tournament, you're normally going to play someone who's around the middle of the pack, but like by rating, they're just slightly below. So if you're in the middle of the pack, it's like, and I've been there before, like you're either playing the highest rated player or the lowest rated player, or, just around whereabouts. So anyway, so in round 1, like Magnus and Hikaru are playing like, I think Magnus played an IM, Hikaru played like a WGM maybe or something like that. They won round 1 smoothly. That's not where the drama came from. the drama came in round 2 when Magnus Carlsen was paired against, and I don't have his name here. I meant to prepare that. I'm going to butcher this. Alisher Suleimanov. So, some 2,500 GM from, what's that country? From Kazakhstan, yeah. Sorry, guys, this is only second episode, so we're going to get things better. And if this does well, then, you know, I'm going to have more consistent episodes. But anyway, besides the point. So, Magnus is playing some random 2,500 GM. Now, this random 2,500 GM would, like, destroy me or you, unless you're literally, like, 2,600 watching this, which I'd be happy if you are, but I doubt that that's the case. However, for someone like Magnus is expected to, like, roll over that guy. It's like Hikaru won his second round. I would be lying if I said I know what happened in the game. I don't really know. I imagine it was a pretty smooth win, but anyway, Magnus was paired against this guy, and Magnus played, like, a questionable opening. It was, like, a Queen's Indian defense, and I think he just got passive position and then, like, allowed his opponent, his Kazakhstani opponent, just some, like, counterplay and opportunities to, like, sacrifice and produce multiple brilliancies and, like, get checkmate. So, like, well, he didn't get checkmate, but, you know what I mean. So, Magnus shockingly lost. That's only part of the drama, and it is a big deal. Like, Magnus is, like, what, 2850, something like that. So he loses to someone, like, over 300 points lower than him. Like, that's a pretty big deal. Now, that's not the reason that I fired up this podcast episode. I mean, talking about, well, you probably see in the title, the non-cheating accusation. So Magnus, you know, a year ago, he accused Hans Niemann of cheating. Initially, it was like a implicit accusation to where he just withdrew from the tournament, and it was like, it was heavily implied that it was an accusation. Remember, it was a period where we didn't know what the case was, and like they were Magnus and Hans were even paired in like some like Chess 24 like tournament, like online tournament. Like Magnus forfeited the game against Hans, so like it was clear that there was something going on between the two. And it wasn't until like maybe a month later, something like that, when maybe it was more like 3 weeks, but Magnus put a statement on Twitter and like just did formally accuse Hans of cheating, and then, you know, then a lawsuit started, and they recently resolved the lawsuit, or they like how do I word it? I'm not a lawyer, but like the charges were dropped. No, that's not a way to word. It's like it was settled. There's some more definitive like phrase I'm looking for, but anyway, the case was closed. That's probably a bad way to put it as well. But anyway, so, you know, it's like, I'd say that's like somewhat questionable behavior by Magnus if you don't know like exactly what's going on. Like, I'll say for the record, I know I'm going on a little bit of a tangent, like, it does seem like there are like sides of the coin to where, like, you know, there are a lot of people who think that Magnus was just being a crybaby, and like there are like other people who like think that like Hans definitely cheated, and I think maybe as time has gone on, like opinions have changed and things like that. I'll just say this, I don't really care what happened. Like, I'm still a Magnus fan regardless. I wouldn't say I'm like a Hans fan necessarily, but I do appreciate like what he brings to the game, like his personality, and he is a really good player. Okay, that was weird. Dude, isn't that the worst when like you're on a roll with what you're talking about and then suddenly you just get interrupted? And I literally have no idea what I was talking about. It was something about like Magnus and Hans. Yeah, so, okay, yeah, I was saying this. Like, I don't really care, like, what the outcome was. Oh, yeah, I was saying that, like, I'm not really a Hans fan, but I do appreciate, like, what he's doing, just, like, with all the streaming and, like, you know, just, like, there's, like, this Clips channel of his. Like, I don't even know if it's, like, his or not, because, like, they seem like legitimate clips, but then they're, like, you know, it only has, like, 300 subscribers, which kind of reminds me, like, when Ben Feingold got mad that, like, someone was, like, posting his clips, and like he was like, I don't care if like I'm benefiting from it or not, you don't steal my clips. Like, again, I don't really care, but I'm just like, why is it like some huge deal? I don't even know. That just kind of popped up anyway. So I'm not a huge Hans fan, but all that to say, like, I don't really care like what happened. Like, even if Magnus legitimately lost, deep down he knows he legitimately lost, but he's just not going to say it publicly, like, I don't care. Because ultimately, they settled the lawsuit. I would imagine that Magnus and, like, all the parties he was suing, like, paid him, like, some settlement, like, probably a big chunk of money to, like, you know, where it's, like, all dropped. Like, they settled the case. Like, I don't care. I do not care, like, if Magnus was being a crybaby, if Hans actually cheated. It would clearly be hard for, like, any cheating method that Hans would have used to, like, you know, to, like, last. By the way, does anyone notice, like, Hans is doing really well in the U.S. Championship and no one's saying anything? I'll just point that out. We're going to talk about the U.S. Championship later, and I don't even, like, think anything's going on, but I feel like if that happened, like, a year ago, then people would be like, oh, it's the you-know-what device, ugh. But anyway, okay, so we're getting sidetracked a little bit, but basically, so Magnus lost to this guy, and then he took to Twitter and stirred up more drama. Now, I think the casual fan, like myself earlier today, like, because, like, you know, I have a life, and, like, I'm not saying that people who follow this stuff don't have a life, but I didn't really, like, know what was going on until my friend, who is probable future guest, and, like, you know, actually told me he liked the podcast, which is actually awesome, because the first video only has, like, 25 viewers. He sent me a text. He's like, oh no, Magnus setting the world on fire again, with, like, a facepalm emoji. And, like, I'm, like, walking into, like, work, like, into the office, and I'm like, I text him, like, I haven't been following, like, what happened? And he just told me that, like, told me kind of what happened, like, a good little summary. So what happened is, and what I will do, because I don't want to take anything out of context, I'm going to read the tweet directly what Magnus said, and then kind of talk about, like, what the, like, perception is and just things like that. If I can begin to open this up. So, oh, did I not? I thought I had them open here. All right, give me 1 second, guys. So this was on Twitter, or it's really known as X, but no one calls it X. We still call it Twitter. I was completely crushed in my game today. This is not to accuse my opponent of anything, who played an amazing game and deserved to win. But honestly, as soon as I saw my opponent was wearing a watch early in the game, I lost my ability to concentrate. I obviously take responsibility for my inability to deal with those thoughts properly, but it's also incredibly frustrating to see organizers still not taking anti-cheating seriously at all. No transmission delay, spectators walking around the playing hall with smartphones. And that was it. And then, like, Hikaru posted an initial thumbnail. He was like, Magnus loses and then accuses, and then Magnus posted. So again, this is Magnus. This is not, like, my opinion or anything like that. Just to be clear, I am not accusing my opponent today of cheating. Constantly using my name for clicks is fine, which I'm trying to do, but this is just lame. Do better. So, that has 1 million views. I'm not, like, on Twitter. I have no idea if that's, like, a lot or, like, whatnot, but anywho, so basically what's going on, well, you just heard the tweets, but, like, Magnus's opponent was wearing a watch, which it's confirmed, like, I mean, it's on camera. Like, it was an analog watch, so it was not even, like, a digital watch. Like, it was an analog watch. If I'm not mistaken, it was a watch that had, like, you know, the minute, what do you call these anymore? Gosh, I'm so old, but also so young. Like, the things on the clock, it's like the minute hand. Is it hand? Like the minute hand and the hour hand? I feel like there's a better word for that. Like, I would have known like 5-10 years ago. But anyway, had like the numbers. Well, I guess all watches would. But it was an analog watch. Like, no one's going to cheat. And I understand the rules are rules. And I'll get to like what my opinion here is a second. But no one's going to like cheat from like an analog watch. Like, if you think that that's the case, like, just trip everyone at, like, the beginning of the tournament. Like, you might as well, like, have something in your shirt, or, like, are earrings, like, forbidden? Like, I mean, I don't know, like, what all the rules are. And, like, obviously, like, tournaments need to be trying to do better at, like, anti-cheating, which, might as well just kind of give my opinion. And here's kind of my thought about this. Again, I haven't really, like, thought about it much, so my opinion might change, like, in the future, but, like, guys, can two things be true at once? So, I think it can be true that Magnus is, like, just kind of being a crybaby about losing. Like, I don't get, like, being distracted. Like, he was distracted. Like, I mean, Okay, it would be one thing if, like, maybe... I mean, yeah, if his opponent maybe came in with, like, a digital watch, like an Apple Watch or something like that, that'd be very concerning. I would even say, like, I don't know, it'd probably be more legitimate if, like, the opponent was taking, like, more bathroom breaks than usual and, like, going to the bathroom on, like, his move, like... It's like in chess, and I actually don't know the rule. When I'm playing in chess tournaments, I just try to go on my opponent's turn, but, like, I think in FIDE, like, if you're, like, playing a game and it's your move, and while it's your move, you just go up and leave, I don't know that you're allowed to do that. Either that or it's just, like, very suspicious. Like, actually, like, my former coach was telling me, like, I think he, like, had, like, stomach problems or something like that. If you happen to be watching this, like, I apologize. I'm trying to, like, keep the... I might be misrepresenting what it was, but, like, if there's some, like, stomach problems or something, like, his opponent was trying to, like, accuse him of, like, just kind of walking away from the board, like, while it was his turn. Anyway, I don't know what the rule is on that, but anywho, I would understand, like, a lot of other, like, circumstances. Like, the only problem was, like, a freaking analog watch. Like, you can't cheat from it unless you have, like, some other thing, which, again, might as well, like, just go shirtless. Like, he could have something in his shirt, and, like, you know, it's just the same thing. Like, are braces not allowed in tournaments? Well, anyway, like, you know, teeth braces. Like, you could have something in there. He's distracted. But I also think, on the other side of the coin, I do think the arbiters, I think FIDE arbiters suck. Like, I mean, I'm not saying, like, every FIDE arbiter. Like, I know some, like, personally, and, like, they're awesome as far as I can tell, but there have just been, like, some stories about, like, FIDE arbiters. Like, sometimes they just don't know what they're doing. Like, I mean, come on, man. Like, Magnus did, like, voice his, like, his, like, concerns to the arbiters, which, like, I think was said in the tweet, but, like, I'd have to double check on that. But the arbiters were confronted, and they just didn't do anything about it, which I think is, like, you know, again, like, the analog watch itself, I don't really think should be cause for concern, and I don't think he should be, like, distracted. I think Hikaru even said that, like, the fact that Magnus lost that is, like, clearly an indication that, like, he's losing form, because, like, he said, like, 5-10 years ago, like, Magnus would have just ignored that and just crushed him. So, yeah, I don't know, but again, I think, like, the arbiters, Jay, just, like, hopefully something, like... Yeah, I just think you just need to, like, enforce rules, especially if the world champion will... He's technically not... Well, he is, like, Rapid and Blitz champion, I think. So we can still say world champion Magnus Carlsen. So if the world champion especially is, like, complaining, then, like, you should at least, like, listen to that. Like, I mean, just be like, hey, why don't you, like, turn your watch in? You can, like, get it, like, after the game or something like that. But just, like, the lack of consistency in the chess world when it comes to, like, organizing. And I do understand, like, I mean... being an arbiter does have to be tough. Like, maybe I was harsh when I said, like, arbiters suck. Like, it's gotta be tough. Like, it's not like their full-time job or anything like that, which hopefully, like, FIDE and, like, whatever, they can get, like, better sponsorships. Like, you know, maybe they can, like, hire people who are just, like, full-time, like, arbiters. I actually don't know. Like, are, like, Chris Bird and Francisco Guadalupe, those aren't the arbiters in this instance, I don't think, but, like, are some of those, like, high up, like, arbiters, are they just, like, salaried employees by, like, FIDE and, like, US Chess? I actually don't know. Like, if you know, you know, I don't know, feel free to write in the comments, but, yeah. So, we'll see what happens. Doesn't seem like Magnus is withdrawing, and, just good. And again, I think maybe people took this thing a little bit out of context. Like, there's no accusation. He's just saying he got distracted by an old-fashioned analog, like, watch, which is ridiculous. By the way, this podcast is going to look so stupid if it turns out that, like... Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was an analog watch. That's not, like, digital. If it turns out not to be the case, I'm going to have to redo this episode, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. So, anyway... As far as Qatar Masters go, I don't really have any... I think Magnus just lost because he just played a bad opening, just got bad position, then just got rolled. Like, and I mean, you know, it's not like I have some authority to, like, criticize the world chess champion, but that happens. Like, he wasn't developing his pieces very well, didn't really control the center that well, and then, like, allowed this, like, knight g5 shot, which, like, has, like, e5 threats, and, like, obviously there's, like, the knight f7 and rook d5 brilliancies. He sacked his knight, his rook, and then his other knight at, like, the very last move of the game. Like, I just think Magnus just got a bad position, and he'll do that sometimes. Like, he'll play, like, inferior openings, then try to, like, just outsmart his opponents. I know it's easy to say, like, hindsight, maybe he should have played something more solidly, and, like, if it's a draw, then sure, fine, but he's also been known to, like, grind out these end games, so maybe that's, like, another sign of weakness in, like, Magnus's played, where, like, he doesn't feel as confident, like, grinding out these young players. I don't know if this guy's young, but, you know, these low-rated players as he used to be, like, yeah, I don't know, but anyway, now let's go ahead. I think we can transition and talk a little bit about the U.S. Championship. And so the U.S. Championship, in case you don't know, is, well, the United States Chess Championship. So it's like, you know, the best players in the nation. It's like invitational. I forget exactly how, like, everyone individually gets in. Like, I think there are several rating spots. I believe the defending champion gets in, and then, like, it's like a wild card, then, like, the winner of the U.S. Open, who I believe was Andrew Tang, the bullet specialist, like, hyper bullet specialist. And actually, at the time of recording, Hans is still playing his 7th round game. Shoot, so I guess we're almost, like, halfway. No, we're, like, more than halfway done, right? So let me see. It's round 7. So let me see. They have 1, 2, 3, 4. Shoot, they have 4 more games to go. So I didn't realize that. It feels like it just started. Like, I meant to, like, have some recap episodes earlier, but Hans, yeah, it looks like it's a drawn position against Andrew Tang. It does. Hans is definitely pushing. Like, he has, like, 2 passed pawns, but they're both, like, blockaded. I guess Andrew has 1 passed pawn, like, opposite color bishop. Like, Hans could win that game, but I'm going to assume that it's a draw. So if that game's drawn, then the standings would be Fabiano Caruana, the defending champion, with clear first at 5 points out of 7. So Fabiano has won 3 games and drawn 4 games, which you might think, like, in a regular tournament, like, that wouldn't really, like, get you first place. But keep in mind, this is, like, a top-level tournament where, like, there's a lot of accurate chess being played, a lot of draws. So that's actually a very good result on his end. He's on +3, and so far he's on good track. And then, like, if Hans manages to win, which I don't expect him to, I think it'll be a draw. But if he wins, he'd actually be tied with Fabiano. He would be on 5 points as well. But if he draws, which is the likely scenario, he would be on clear second with 4.5. And then Linier, Dominguez, Perez, and Wesley So are tied at 4. Sam Savion and Sam Shanklin, who I believe just played, are at 3.5. Abhimanyu Mishra is on 3.5 as well. And, yeah, it just kind of goes down from there. I don't know, probably do a better recap, like, at the conclusion of the tournament, so that when we know, like, who won, what all the final results were, maybe, I don't know, maybe do some game recaps, but that would also defeat the purpose of, like, a podcast. It might as well just be, like, one of my normal videos. I'm not exactly sure, but I think a couple storylines that are worth mentioning, like, again, as I mentioned earlier, Hans is playing really well. Like, he beat Levon Aronian the other day, and, like, again, no one is mentioning anything about, like, accusations, which, like, I think is fine, but, like, have we just forgotten? Like, I don't know. I think that was a bad way to put it, because I'm not even, like, trying to imply that I think he's cheating. I don't think he's cheating. I just, like, wonder why maybe other people aren't, like, suspicious. Maybe people are talking about it, and I'm just not exactly sure. I'm just not aware or whatnot. But anyway, what I think is impressive, and I know it's a little bit early to kind of talk about, is the potential for Fabiano Caruana to repeat as U.S. champion. Because I was actually looking at this, sorry, just kind of doing my research. Yeah, I'll go to the Wikipedia page because I'm like that. But I was kind of realizing, like, how rare it is for the U.S. champion to repeat as U.S. champion. So here's the thing. It actually did happen somewhat recently with Wesley So, although it was years 2020, 2021. 2020, like, I barely count that. It was played on lead chess. I think it was a rapid time format. Like, and I understand, like, you have to, like, determine the champion somehow, but I barely count that as a repeat. And no disrespect to Wesley So. He's a great player. He deserved both championships, and, like, I think him, like, having one over the board, if anything, just kind of helped prove that point. But for the purposes of, like, repeat U.S. championship, like, played over the board and, like, a whatever time control that is, longer time control, like, I don't really count that. So let's see. Fabiano Caruana won in 2022. Nakamura 2019. Shanklin 2018. So in 2017. Fabiano 2016. Hikaru 2015. Then Gata Kamsky. So Gata Kamsky. Do you know who Gata Kamsky is? I mean, I do. And I imagine a lot of like chess geeks, nerds know who he is. But I don't think the common person, like the common chess fan, knows who Gata Kamsky is. Gata Kamsky was actually like legitimately like a world championship contender. Like, I would need some like chess historian to like tell me who like his modern day equivalent would have been, but like he's probably a modern day equivalent of like Fabiano Caruana. Is that too strong to say? I don't know like where his like ranking was, like if he was never like world number 1, but like was he ever like world number 2? Let me actually check. That could be a future like podcast like discussion, actually, just kind of looking at these older players, because like I didn't like grow up with like Gata Kamsky being like that great, so like this is all just kind of like just based on what I've heard. So he was world number 4. Oh yeah, actually like, Gata Kamsky, he had like this deal to where like he retired from chess and then like came back, which like, yeah, wasn't he out of competitive chess for like several years? Like, yeah, he was inactive from 1996 to 04, which I'm not a math major, but that's 8-year inactivity. Yeah, he was out of chess for 8 years, like competitive chess, and then he like played well after that. Like, I think he played in a world championship match during his comeback. I'd have to look more into that, but that's honestly like, doesn't that have to be one of the most impressive like career feats like ever in chess? Like, obviously becoming world champion would have been like a better feat, but you play high level chess, you're out of chess for 8 years, and then you come back and then you're just kicking, you know what? Like, I don't like, that's honestly astonishing the more I think about it. Like, very few competitive industries you can just be out of it for 8 years. I'm sure he was like studying and just like, you know, just keeping up with the trends and things like that, but he didn't play like competitively for 8 years. Maybe he played again. I don't know like how you would like quantify that, but he's out for 8 years and then comes back. Like, that's just impressive. But anyway, so Gata Kamsky repeated 2013 to 2014. Then I believe he repeated again 2010 to 11. I think you'd have to go back for like a non-Gata Kamsky or Wesley So. You'd have to go to like, I think like, what's his name? Lev Albert in 1984 to 85. Do you know who Lev Albert is? I don't. I've heard of him, and I've heard of him like, I don't really know any like facts about him. Let's see, Lev Albert. Lev Albert is a chess grandmaster, writer, and coach. He was born in Russia and became 3-time Ukrainian champion, and then defected to the U.S. in 1979. Is there anything like notable? He has a lot of books. Apparently there's some Albert variation, the Alkine's defense, which is e4, knight f6, e5, knight d5, d4, d6, knight f3, g6. Oh, that's interesting. Because I've actually been looking at like the Alkine's defense, and I was trying to determine if like playing g6 early was like good or not. Anyway, neither here nor there. So all that to say, I think it would be extremely impressive if Fabiano Caruana went on to win the over-the-board U.S. Championship back-to-back. Sadly, I don't know if it would be as much of a talked-about storyline as I'm making it out to be. Like, again, I'm sure it would be, like, repeated. Like, oh, back-to-back. Woohoo, impressive. But it's just so hard to do. I'm just seeing from, like, the statistics. Like, it's so hard to do that. I think especially because it's, like, a different format than, like, the World Championship. Because Magnus could just like, repeat if he wanted to, because he's guaranteed a seat in the World Championship. Well, not like this coming cycle, obviously, but, you know, the defending World Champion is guaranteed a seat if he wants it. So, anyway, yeah, I believe... Is there anything else I wanted to talk about? I did see, like, that I Am Not a GM Speed Chess Championship was going on. I don't really, like, know anything about it. Maybe we can kind of see on the fly, like, who's playing. Let's see, results. So yeah, the I Am Not a GM Speed Chess Championship. So it's like the normal Speed Chess Championship, but it's like players who are not quite GM, which like, it's like a lot of like creators, like, you know, Levy Rosman. I think Eric Rosen played in the past. He's not doing it this time because like he's in Qatar, unless he's doing both at the same time, which would be impressive. Like, yeah, Greg Shahade. It's like a lot of just like these not quite GMs, but they're like John Bartholomew did it, and I think won it like a couple years ago. Let's see, a couple names I don't recognize. Greg Shahade won his match. Yeah, I don't really have like any takes as far as like that goes. Like, I mean, Levy's playing, which is good. I think. Yeah, I remember like 2 years ago, or maybe it was 3 years ago. I think it was. I think the match, I want to say it was Alexandra Botez versus Greg Shahade. And Greg Shahade, to make it more fair, they started with Alexandra having like a 15-point deficit. I remember people were upset. Not like seriously upset. They were like, why would you do that? It's not fair. And I'm like, well, because Greg won the match anyway. And I'm like, just subtract 15 from Alexandra's score and you have your like actual score. Like, anyway, I don't know. Maybe it's not really like something I'm like really keeping tabs on. It might be like, there might be good games to go over. Like, you know, they're not like, it's not like Magnus and Hikaru. They're playing like little mistakes and they have to find like, or, you know, like, well, sorry, I'm getting a little bit mixed up, but maybe those are like more instructive games to like look over, but I don't know. But anyway, I think we will go ahead and call it an episode. I didn't really put out a Q&A thing for this one, just didn't quite do that. I might start a Discord, by the way. I'm not exactly sure, so there may or may not be a Discord link in the description. If so, it'll be like very new because like I have created a Discord server, but just didn't really do much with it. But if I do, it'll have like updates and things like that. So yeah, thank you so much for sticking around, and I'll see you for the next episode. Bye.